we are going to discuss the fun. We are going to discuss the fundamentals of nutrition. So for a lot of people, when they are starting with us as a client, they have to understand the foundations. And I always say to them, make it simple. Don't overcomplicate it, because if you even stick to the simple parts, you're going to see a huge difference in your nutrition habits, your body composition, and nutrition is the fundamental part. So from everyone, are you Middle Eastern? Are you from the Western world? Are you Asian? It doesn't really matter. The foundations of nutrition are always the same. And the quicker you get that, then the quicker you're going to start making progress with your nutrition. So, and your body composition. So as you can see here, no matter where you're from, you've got healthy and then you have unhealthy. You have the healthy section, which would be unprocessed food. What is unprocessed food? Your unprocessed food would be things that are single ingredients. So a single ingredient would be what is in a steak. Steak. What is in fish? Fish. So it's very single ingredients, okay? That is when you know that is the right thing to have. And I'm going to discuss this for a little bit of time, because so you can clearly understand. Then you have unhealthy, which would be processed food. Many ingredients. So ingredients that are completely like a package that have 6 or 7 ingredients in it is going to be processed food. So how do you then combat that? Well, if you're from one of these countries, you are going to eat different styles of meals. Okay, so you're going to, when you have a single ingredient, you might take those single ingredients and put them in a different format. May that be seasoning, may that be different spices, etc. But the fundamental of the single ingredient is you still need to have the certain amount of protein, because it does not matter what country you're from. If you are 5'10" and a man, then you still always, and you have a standard muscle mass, like you've got basic muscle mass, you still need 130 grams of protein. It doesn't matter where you're from. And that is why most people get confused. They are from a certain culture and they'll say things like, yeah, but I'm from here, so we don't eat like that. Well, you need to eat like that. It's objective. There's certain things in life that are subjective and certain things that are objective. Like, it is fact that you need to have a certain level of protein. Yes, there's a lot of propaganda out there that tell you, oh, don't do that, do this, don't eat too much red meat. A lot of it is absolute nonsense. So what we're going to explain is the fact are, no matter where you're from, having a certain amount of protein, which we will go through, is fundamental. So for most people, so let's say you're a woman, all right? You're a woman, you may want to have 90 to 120 grams of animal protein per day, all right? Animal protein, not just any old random protein that you see. There's a protein bar, there's a protein shake. You want to be focusing on the protein sources that are from animals, such as your beef, your chicken, your fish, your eggs. These are fundamental. You can have Greek yogurt, but you want to aim for the animal proteins first. Then you can have your Greek yogurt as an example, as the main foundation. Then for men, you want to be aiming for around about 30 to 160 grams of protein. A lot of people will get very specific based around your body weight and things, but honestly, if you are a man and you hit those metrics, or you're a woman, you hit those metrics, you're onto a great start. And you need to make sure the protein, that the single ingredients that you're having are mixed protein. You're not just having chicken and white fish all the time. You're changing those protein sources consistently, and that's fundamental, because if you don't change them all the time, you're not going to be getting enough fats in your diet, because things like chicken and white fish, they don't have much fats in them, which is fine, but you need to make sure you're mixing those meats up every day to different ones, or at least every second day. So aiming for 90 to 120 for women, 130 to 160. How would you calculate that, right? Well, you would calculate that through making sure that you just check the pack. So let's say you buy a 500 gram of beef mince pack. Well, you just have to check ChatGPT how much protein is in 10% fat beef mince. proteins, how much protein is in that. Well, it will tell you, then you know. If you eat half the pack, then you know you just divide it by 2. It's pretty straightforward. Or if you're having chicken, then you know that if it's 300 grams of chicken in a pack and you eat half of it, it is 150 grams of chicken. You just figure out how much protein is in 150 gram of chicken breast, and it'll tell you. So as you just add that up, and the same goes if you have some Greek yogurt, then you do the same thing. You just check how much is in the pack, and then you can weigh it, or you can kind of estimate it, but I tend to at least weigh it once or twice so you understand portions, and then from there you'll get it. You can pretty much eyeball it from that point. But getting that amount of protein is fundamental, is the main focus no matter where you're from. So keep that in mind, and if you are changing up those meals with different styles of food, that is okay. That is not a big deal. But one thing I will say is when I notice with especially Middle Eastern meats is a lot of people have like kebabs, which is beef kebab, let's say, and they'll take a mince, they'll mix it with oil, they'll mash it together, and they'll make it into kebabs, and then they'll grill them. The problem with that is they mix the meat with oil in the Middle East a lot of the time, when they have kofta or they have any kind of shawarmas or any of this style of meat, and it's important or fundamental for you to make sure you actually have the meat itself and you cook it at home. Even if you are having a piece of meat in a restaurant, you don't have to be obsessed, but do keep in mind they cook a lot of these meats in oil, which is a problem. But if you honestly get that as a starting foundation on the first few weeks of your program, you're going to be in a flying start, because you're not going to feel hungry anymore, and you're not going to feel overwhelmed in terms of being confused with all these different ways of eating. Once you hit this for 2 to 4 weeks, you're probably going to get results just that naturally by not following this section. This section here, not following this section here, and hitting this grams of protein as the only 2 metrics that you focus on. I guarantee you'll probably get the best results of your life. And that is how to make it simple for you to understand. And from here, and when you do that, then what we can do is go to the next stage of nutrition. But I'm going to give this as part 1 of your nutrition guidance. As I've said many times on this, hit this one, measure it as I explained, make sure you're hitting single ingredients, and just keep in mind the single ingredients is any animal proteins, vegetables and fruit would be your basics, and you can have any of the meats, any of the vegetables, any of the fruits you want. Just don't blend your fruit. And if you do that and you stick to this as a foundation, I guarantee the best results in your life as this stage 1. From here in stage 2, there's levels to this, there's different ways of thinking. How do you deal with being out in social events? How do you deal with doing this when you're busy, when you're on holiday? So there is more to it, but as I said, for most of you starting your program, this is going to be a great start.